The night before my wedding, I had a terrifying dream. I saw myself running mad, my hair wild, my dress torn, my laughter echoing through the streets like a cursed soul. I woke up gasping, drenched in sweat, my heart pounding in fear. This is a true life story. Please support me by subscribing to my channel, like my video, and drop a comment below. My husband and I are from the same community in Abia State. We met during my one-year service, and after dating for just a year, we decided to get married. It was a beautiful journey, filled with love and excitement, but little did I know that danger lurked in the shadows. Unbeknownst to me, my husband's ex-girlfriend had been following me on Facebook. She had seen my pictures with him, our pre-wedding photos, and even our wedding invitation card that we posted on Facebook. When we set the date for both our traditional and church wedding ceremonies, I carefully planned everything. I sourced my fabrics from Onitsha Main Market, ensuring that every piece was of the highest quality. My best friend connected me with a highly skilled designer in Arbar. Since I was busy with wedding preparations, we communicated mostly through WhatsApp, video calls, and phone calls. I never had the chance to meet her in person. From the moment I was introduced to the designer, everything seemed perfect. My friend Arda had sworn by her work, praising her as a magician with fabrics. "She's the best, I promise," Arda assured me. "She might take her time, but when she delivers, it's always worth the wait." I contacted the designer via WhatsApp, and our conversations flowed effortlessly. She was polite and reassuring, asking for my measurements and promising to make my outfit stunning. We exchanged multiple voice notes and even had video calls where she showed me samples of her work. I was impressed. She appeared professional, confident, and extremely talented. But then small red flags started appearing. At first, there were minor delays. "I'm waiting for the perfect lace to match your George," she'd text. "I want it to be flawless." I appreciated her attention to detail, so I didn't press her too much. A week passed, then two. Each time I asked for an update, she had an excuse. Suppliers were late, power outages, her sewing machine needed repairs. I started to worry when we were just a month away from the wedding, and she still hadn't sent any finished pictures. I called her, my voice laced with nervousness. "Please, I hope the outfits will be ready soon. The wedding is getting close." "Relax, my dear," she replied with a small laugh. "I'm almost done. You'll get them on time, I promise." But deep inside, an uneasy feeling began to grow. 3 weeks to the wedding, my anxiety skyrocketed. My other outfits were ready. My wedding gown, accessories, and shoes were all neatly packed. But my traditional attire, the one thing that mattered most for the cultural ceremony, was nowhere to be found. I bombarded the designer with messages, asking her to send a progress picture. She responded with a blurry image of a folded fabric, claiming she was doing final touches. That was when my frustration turned into suspicion. As the wedding day drew nearer, I grew increasingly anxious. My designer had not yet finished sewing the clothes or sent them to me. Concerned, I sent her a picture of our invitation card, hoping to emphasize the urgency of my request. I was having a double celebration, and everything was set: the church gown, the venue, the decorations, except for the outfits she was making. To my surprise, she called me back almost immediately. Her voice carried a strange tone as she asked, "Are you really getting married to Emmanuel from Aka Village?" I replied, "Yes, I am." She then mentioned peculiar details about my husband and his family, things only a close associate would know. I assumed she must be someone from his past, perhaps a childhood friend or a former neighbor, since he grew up in Arbar. I had no idea that she was his ex, the very woman who had once left him for another man. At that moment, I unknowingly walked into a trap. I never knew that clothing materials could be charmed or poisoned. I don't know where she took the clothes after sewing them, but her plan was wicked, to make me lose my mind on my wedding day. 3 days before the wedding, I called her non-stop. She ignored my calls for hours before finally picking up. "Please, I need my outfits. Time is running out," I pleaded. "It's done," she said, her voice eerily calm. "I'll send it by Weibo tomorrow morning." 2 days before my wedding, the clothes finally arrived. By then, I was overwhelmed with last-minute preparations and had no time for fittings. I had lost a little weight due to stress, but I convinced myself that the outfit would still fit well. The night before my wedding, I had a terrifying dream. In it, I was dressed in my traditional attire, adorned in red coral beads, my skin glowing with happiness. But as I stepped out to meet my in-laws, a dark figure emerged from the crowd. Before I could react, the figure lunged at me, snatching my wrapper and blouse with such force that I was left standing in only my innerwear. Gasps and whispers filled the air as I tried to cover myself, my heart pounding in fear. I wanted to scream, but my voice was gone. The last thing I saw before jerking awake was the shadowy figure laughing as it disappeared into the darkness. I woke up drenched in sweat, gripping the bedsheet tightly. My heart was racing, my body trembling. It was just a dream, I told myself, shaking my head to clear the images. But a lingering feeling of unease remained. Was it a warning? Or just wedding stress getting to me? I dismissed it as paranoia and tried to go back to sleep. Just as the first light of dawn crept through my window, my phone rang. It was my elder brother. His voice was calm but firm, carrying an urgency that sent a shiver down my spine. Be very careful about any cloth you put on today, he warned. Pray before you wear anything, and if you feel uneasy about any outfit, don't wear it. I sat up in bed, my heart pounding again. My brother was not one to call randomly, and his words were too similar to my dream to ignore. But I assured him I would be careful and ended the call, shaking off the fear creeping up my spine. The real shock came after the church wedding. As we drove back to my father's house for the traditional ceremony, a mad woman appeared out of nowhere. She ran straight towards our car, her hair wild and unkempt, her clothes tattered and filthy. She slammed her hands on the car window and screamed, "Don't wear that cloth that was sent to you from our bar." My breath caught in my throat. People quickly pulled her away, muttering about her insanity, but my blood ran cold. How did she know about the cloth? My husband tried to calm me, but I felt sick to my stomach. Something was very, very wrong. When we got home, I went straight to the box where I kept the clothes, and something was amiss. The box was hot as if it had been kept in an oven. I called my mom, and when she came into the room, I explained everything to her. She prayed with me, and together, we finally opened the box. The moment she touched the fabric, she gasped. "Jesus," she exclaimed. The cloth was burning hot. My mom tore off the nylon package, and a part of the fabric looked as if ash had been poured on it. The blouse was peeling off as if it had been dipped in acid, a high-quality George material ruined. A high-quality George material, for that matter. My mom poured anointing oil on it and put it back into the box. My heart pounded as I stood frozen, staring at my mother in shock. Her voice was firm, unshaken. "You can't wear this dress. Look for another one and wear it. Any of their evil plans will never work." My breath hitched. My hands, which had been smoothing the delicate fabric of my wedding dress, suddenly felt clammy. A cold shiver ran down my spine. This was the dress I had dreamt of wearing, the one I had envisioned myself walking down the aisle in. But now, my mother's words sent a wave of panic through me. "What do you mean, Mama?" My voice trembled. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she grabbed the dress and held it up to the light, inspecting it as if she could see something invisible to me. A sinking feeling settled in my stomach. I thought of the dream I had the night before, me, running mad, my hair wild, my laughter echoing like a cursed soul. My brother's warning. The mad woman's outburst. The burning heat of the fabric. Terror gripped me. Was this dress cursed? Had someone really planned evil for me? Swallowing hard, I whispered, "God, please don't let their plans succeed." Tears welled up in my eyes. If I had worn that cursed fabric, what would have happened to me? Madness? Death? But God did not allow me to see shame. Thankfully, I had other beautiful traditional outfits that had never been worn before. I quickly selected one, paired it with my mother's red George, and styled my hair like a Benin bride. When I finally stepped out, no one could tell what had just transpired in my room. I walked with confidence, my heart filled with gratitude. God had delivered me from a wicked plan designed to disgrace me on my happiest day. The music played on, and we swayed together on the dance floor, but I could feel the weight of his gaze on me. His hands rested gently on my waist, yet his grip felt slightly tense, his mind clearly distracted. "Why aren't you wearing the dress I bought for you?" he asked suddenly, his voice barely audible over the music. I stiffened in his arms. My heart pounded. I forced a smile, tilting my head slightly. I didn't get the chance to try it on," I said quickly. "Things were so busy, and I never had the time." His brows knitted together. "What do you mean you never had the time? It was custom-made for us. The wedding is about us, and we were supposed to match. That was the plan." I swallowed hard, avoiding his gaze. "I know," I muttered. "Let's not talk about this now. We'll talk about it later, please." His grip on my waist tightened slightly. Are you sure that's all there is to it? He pressed, suspicion creeping into his voice. I nodded quickly, forcing another smile. But deep down, I knew this conversation was far from over. That night, my mother took the cursed garments to the backyard and burned them. As the flames consumed them, a strong wind blew through our compound, carrying the ashes away. The morning after the wedding, as I sat in my new home reflecting on everything that had happened, a shiver ran down my spine. The weight of the close call hit me hard. I had nearly walked straight into a trap, one that could have destroyed not only my wedding day but my entire life. I kept replaying the events in my mind. The strange dream, my brother's warning, the mad woman's outburst, and finally, the cursed fabric that felt like it had been pulled out of an inferno. It all made sense now. This wasn't just a coincidence. Someone had intentionally tried to harm me. But who could go to such lengths? When I finally told my husband everything, from the dream to the strange heat of the clothes, his face darkened. He sat in silence for a long time, then finally asked, "Who made the clothes?" I hesitated before mentioning the designer's name. He looked up at me sharply. "That name sounds familiar," he muttered. Then, like a dam breaking, it all came back to him, his ex. The woman he had once loved but had to let go of because he wasn't financially stable. The same woman who later returned, begging for a second chance after the rich man abandoned her. The same woman he had told to move on. I could see the anger rising in him. "So this was her plan," he whispered, his fists clenching. Without another word, he grabbed his phone and stepped outside. A few minutes later, I heard his voice, low but filled with restrained fury. He had called her. He didn't tell me exactly what he said, but when he came back inside, he looked even more unsettled. "She denied everything," he said, but I could hear it in her voice. She knew. The news spread quickly in the family. My mother, already shaken by what she had seen, called a family meeting and my in-laws were present. My father, usually a calm man, was furious. "People can be wicked," he muttered. My elder brother, the pastor, shook his head. "You were covered by grace." This was an arrow that did not reach its target. My mother couldn't stop thanking God. If that mad woman hadn't spoken up, if you hadn't been cautious, if we hadn't prayed. Only God knows what could have happened. 2 days later, my husband's family decided that silence was not an option. This wasn't just an attack on me. It was an attack on our entire family. My father-in-law, respected elder in the community, called a family meeting. After listening to everything that had happened, he said in a firm voice, "We cannot let this slide. This kind of wickedness must be confronted." My husband, still furious, had already made up his mind. He, his older brothers, and his father would go directly to the ex-girlfriend's house in Arbar. They didn't tell me exactly how they planned to approach her, but I could see the determination in their eyes. When they arrived, she was shocked to see them. She tried to put on a calm face, but my husband said he could see her hands trembling slightly. "We need to talk," his father said sternly. She invited them in, but before anyone could sit, my father-in-law spoke. "We know what you did." Her eyes darted nervously. I don't understand what you mean," she stammered. My husband's elder brother stepped forward. "You sent charmed clothes to our wife. If not for God, something terrible would have happened to her on her wedding day." At first, she tried to deny it, swearing that she had no idea what they were talking about. But when my husband looked her directly in the eye and said, "If anything happens to my wife, to me, or to anyone in my family, you will not escape the consequences," she froze. "You think we don't know people in this town?" My father-in-law added. "We know exactly where you took those clothes before sending them. If we had gone a step further, we would have involved the authorities and the village elders." She swallowed hard, her face pale. She must have realized that the situation was serious. She didn't confess, but her silence spoke louder than words. Then came the final warning. My husband's family made it clear that if any harm, physical, spiritual, or otherwise, came to me, him, or anyone related to us, they would come back. And next time, they wouldn't come with just words. As they left, my husband turned to her one last time. "You had your chance," he said. "You chose your path. Stay away from us." When my husband and his family returned, I could tell from their expressions that they had made their message clear. My father-in-law simply said, "She won't try this nonsense again." I didn't know what the future held, but one thing was certain, she had been warned. And I prayed she had enough sense to listen. Kindly support me by subscribing to my channel, like my video, and drop a comment. Your support means a lot.